Hi everyone, I am Bhumika and today we have with us CA Sakshi Gupta. She secured All India Rank 1 in CIPCC. She pursued her industrial training in HUL. After qualifying as Chartered Accountant, she joined BCG as a strategy consultant. Then she moved to TA Associates, which is a private equity firm. She is also the founder of Consultapreneur, which basically helps angel investors in evaluating business ideas. Currently, she is working with LinkedIn in the product strategy team and that took a lot. So I'm sure it must have taken a lot from you as well, Sakshi. We are very excited to have you here with us. Welcome to our channel.
Thanks, Bhumika. First of all, thank you for giving me the opportunity to come and share thoughts on my forum. It does took a long, but it has also been a long time. So,
Yeah.
if you put it on a relative basis, it's not been, it's not that been like, too much for this large amount of time I've spent since I've started the CA course.
Yeah, yeah. So let's just go back to when you were a sophomore at Narsi Munji. So what made you decide to pursue chartered accountancy in the first place?
Honestly, it was my dad. My dad's a CA.
Okay.
So a part of the reason was that I had not seen other. So my family is a family of CAs. I
Hmm.
hadn't seen, let's say, other fields to have that exposure. So for me, it came very naturally that I wanted to be like him, and one way you can be like somebody is to do the same thing the other person does.
Yeah.
So I decided that I would pursue commerce. I think for a while I was confused if I wanted to be a lawyer versus a chartered accountant, but then practicality kicked in that if you sort of are a CA, then maybe the family can help you at some point in time.
Hmm.
So that was the reason I took up CA. Plus the Narsi Munji is a place where you're surrounded by all the CA aspirants. Like, it's called the CA factory in Bombay. So in
Okay.
a way, when you're surrounded, it sort of rubs on to you that
Hmm.
you want to do a similar thing.
So if you wouldn't have been at Nasi Munji or just in a parallel life, what would your career choice be if not this?
Honestly, I grew up wanting to be a doctor.
Okay.
So I think if things had happened and, I probably would have stuck on to my passions in seventh, eighth standard, I might be, fighting COVID right now as opposed to sitting and developing spreadsheets in the comfort of my home. So yeah, in the parallel universe, I see myself to be in medicine and not in commerce.
All right. Okay. So you achieved All India Rank 1 in CIPCC. So I want to know one thing which you did, which generally people do not do or ignore, which generally students are not so aware of, and which helped you getting a rank in CIPCC.
So honestly, I think the one thing I saw at my time, I'm not sure how the thing is right now, is uh, the idea that ICI textbooks are not good and people would take up, let's say, digested versions and read authors' books. Honestly, I think what worked for me was that I just used the textbooks given by the ICAI, like
Yeah.
end to end, never
Yeah.
referred something else. And that sort of, even though I used to go to classes, I never used to like think about them as like the Bible thing which I need to revise from.
Hmm.
My Bibles were always ICI materials. At least that's what I saw, that my friends used to have X author and Y author for different things, which would have digested answers and very crisp summaries. And maybe it's helpful at some point, but at least what worked for me was sticking to what was prescribed by the ICAI, actually reading the bare acts.
Hmm.
Because I think that's the essence of what you would eventually turn out to be a good chartered account later, which is like research.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we undervalue. And I have seen lesser of students doing it. But
Hmm.
again, my sample size was limited. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's a very helpful answer.
No, I can relate with you on that. So your sample size has one more person now. So what I see here is, I think you believe in self-study, do you?
Very strongly.
Okay. So why people do not believe in self-study is, one, they lack the confidence, and two, they think that it will take a lot of time in reading barracks and stuff. So what are your thoughts about that?
So I think it definitely takes up time. I'm not going to lie
Mm.
about it. Like in
Mm.
classes, somebody would explain you something as a story.
Mm.
And if you are reading the bare act, it might just be too tough. which is why I always said that supplement both these things. I don't think, I mean, I probably feel if I was just doing self study, it would have been really hard. But I was trying to parallelize. So, for example, there were some things I knew classes needs, you need to get help, so I
Yeah.
would get help for those things. So I think self study, there need not be an option between self study and classes. I think there has to be a mixture of both. Now, depending on what kind of person you are, like in my view, you should see like where your criteria is. Like if you want to like pass in first attempt, and you know that even if you sell for 8 hours, and you are hardly able to focus because of something, so classes is a good option. But if you are like me, who would feel that whatever classes teach are a bit incomplete and want to supplement the thing with more perspective, so for me classes was the first point of studying. But then I would come back home and then read enough about it. Now once you have the basics, reading that is much more easier and it takes lesser amount of time. So obviously you probably study more, but then you score more as well. So
Yeah.
it's a trade-off you have to make at some point.
Yeah, that's evident. All India rank one is evident. So, when you were done with IPCC, you did IPCC in your college, right?
Hmm.
And then you joined articleship, and that too at a Big Four firm at
Yeah.
Deloitte.
Hmm.
So, how would you describe your articleship experience?
Honestly, it was great. I mean, I did have some challenges starting through in terms of gelling with the team, etc. But I think after 3 months of going in, I mean, for the first 3 months, I was like, what's happening? How can these people be so fast in Excel?
Yeah.
What is this software they're using? And there are so many shortcuts, and things are just happening so quick. And I'm just looking at it and I'm like, what's happening? And it's not gelling with you. But I think after 3 months you just sort of kicking in, you become as efficient as any other newly recruited CA in these article firms. So I think I personally got exposure. One thing which also helped me was because people knew that I was an AIR1, they just generally placed some high expectations and gave me more roles.
Yeah.
So I think it was little bit of unjustness in my view, but at least I benefited from it. That they would be like, okay, I would say, I want to do this capex account auditing, and they would be like, okay, but that's for recruited CAs. But then somebody would point out, what, but she is an AR1, and then somebody would like, okay, ticket, you do it. And I think that some ways, which is why I feel that AR1 sort of percolated till a lot later part of my life. And to date, people just feel that that's probably the most shiniest part in my CV. But and I'm telling you, it does matter. The everything goes away in 6 months. There's some new AR1 which comes in.
Yeah.
But I think the impact of that outcome stays with you for a long time.
I agree. I agree with you on that. So, what happens in articleship and what I'm facing right now is that, so since childhood we have exams that kind of acts as a tool to judge whether we are learning enough or how much we are progressing in general. But then in articleship we do not have a tool as such which tells you that I am learning enough or I am going through the right path. We obviously have the ICI test, but that's like a MCQ thing, so you can't judge yourself on that. So
Hmm.
what do you think is that one tool that you can use to judge yourself?
I'll tell you, I thought about this answer a lot while I was in articleship, primarily because I mean, I didn't get it. It felt it was going good. Then you realize you don't know so many things.
Yeah.
So, well, what is a good level for somebody of your experience? And I think two things which helped me. So the first thing was the fact that you can have a conversation with a client or whosoever you're dealing with without taking any external help. So
Okay.
that for me was a big thing, that if a client meets me in the lift
Yeah.
and tells me, hey, how are things going, what are you thinking about this, I should have answers to those questions. And that meant that I had to be involved way beyond what I was working on, and to know what others are doing, how the general project is happening, how far are we. So that helped me build this strong culture, which actually helped me later in BCG also. It's called the elevator pitch, which is like knowing what's happening.
Okay.
The second part of it was, I think we don't emphasize it enough, but you should ask your manager or any case partner you're working on for feedback. And that could be genuine, saying that, hey, you have seen people of my age come and go along for so many years in different capacities. What do you think I score at? Where do I stand, and what are the things I could do better? I think this asking for feedback is a gift. and I think people should do it more enough. At some point I feel that as CA students we tend to think articleship aside like a formality, and we try to prove our, how good we are in terms of in exams and in other things. But I think this is one of the most important parts, because practically that's the thing which is going to help you later in life.
Yeah, yeah. That's a really strong point that you have made here. Feedback. It's really important. Yeah, good point. So, when you were done with your articleship and you after qualifying, you joined BCG that you mentioned as a strategy consultant. How was your experience at BCG?
Oh, great. I think anyone who ever gets a chance or who
Hmm.
wants to learn about everything relating to diversity, which is diverse teams, diverse clients, diverse problems, should
Hmm.
be should
Hmm.
definitely do consulting for some time. So BCG was a really great experience. I mean, in terms of problem solving, I got to work under 4 or 5 functional problems. Then, in terms of industries, I was very lucky to get 4 within the time I was there. And
Hmm.
honestly, the fact that the teams there are not just built of CAs
Yeah.
changed my perspective of things beyond numbers and finance.
Hmm.
Like, there are qualitative aspects which matter to a problem. So, let's say if you're trying to cut costs,
Hmm.
and a number, you would look at it and say, hey, manpower is the biggest cost, and it seems like we are overpaying people.
Hmm.
But then there will be somebody who will come up with a point of view that should we think about the emotional side, why are we paying this?
Yeah.
And that's something you fail to do as somebody who comes from a very strong numbers background. So I
Hmm.
think the storytelling is something I learned very strongly in BCG, which is think about the pain points and think about the numbers, and then marry them into a very holistic narrative
Hmm.
on what will help the client the best.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think that was my biggest learning from BCG in general,
Hmm.
which is getting people's perspective and valuing each other, and knowing that there are different ways to solve a problem.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's really nice. So, since you mentioned industry, I think I missed one point here, which is a big point in your life. You joined industrial training in HUL. So, how was your experience? Why did you choose to pursue industrial training? And would you recommend people to do it?
Um, okay, so probably I'll just go. Why did I choose first?
Yeah.
So I think I was very clear working in 2 years that there were certain things which CAs are very known for, which is auditing, tax, and I had
Mhm.
spent enough time in Deloitte doing it, but it wasn't something which fueled me. I was happy doing it, but I just didn't see myself. It didn't click me as something I would like to do,
Mhm.
all my life.
Mhm.
So I thought about what are the alternative professions. Now things are forensic, etc. is coming up, but at least in my time, the only 2 places you could do articleship was, statutory audit, internal audit, some parts of tax.
Yeah.
And I thought it was fairly limited in scope. So I thought I would look out, obviously not from the perspective, but said like, that's what harm in trying. And
Mhm.
I got through HUL and Nestle. And then honestly picked up HUL because Nestle was going through that Maggie fiasco at that time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I thought that HUL was a place. And honestly, that time I wasn't very sure, why HUL, etc. But then after joining HUL, I learned a lot of things. I think that year has been the most transformational experience in my life, because till that time, the only interaction I had professionally were with CAs. You
Mhm.
work in a team of CAs, your clients are also generally CAs.
Yeah.
So you essentially are with a similar mindset of people. But
Mhm.
here I was solving absolutely a non-financial problem. The only reason I was on that problem was because I was smart. And so it wasn't like, as a CA, I'm supposed to solve some finance or some tax or some structure problem. The first problem given to me was, tell me how do we reduce costs in these 3 factories? And that
Mhm.
has nothing to do with CA. You
Yeah.
sit back, you look at stuff, you think about it, and there's that were with 2 IMA summer interns.
Okay.
So that broadens your perspective. The second thing I understood in HUL was, I mean, HUL is very, very supportive of women. How flexibly people have managed to have a great personal life
Mhm.
along with working, and have a smart environment which supports.
Okay.
So that, and I think it was my very first experience knowing how a big company works inside out. I never could visualize, how just few people working can make such an impact at a large scale. But that was where I felt it, that it's actually possible.
Mm.
So I think taking industrial training, which is a second question, has to be a very personal call. The first thing is industrial training exposes you to things. And I know there are some people who do industrial training in the finance department of other companies. So again, it's your call what you want to do. But please be aware of the cons as well, that you won't get as many leads as you would get in, let's say, a stat firm. Secondly, I know most of the big fours and firms, if you've done good articleship and you've had a good feedback, they probably place you an offer. So you are at some point also sacrificing some bit of job security after that CA. And third is, what if you don't like it, is the point, right? Like, you jump thinking it's different, but what if, based on your capabilities, there's some people who just love accounting and taxation. I mean, they find their fuel and their ikigai in it.
Yes.
So I think for those people, I would just say, let's take the pros and cons, think about it very holistically. And in my view, well, passing CA is more important than the experience. I mean, experience counts, but that also counts as well. So give the weight you want to give. I took a leap of faith. It worked out in my favor, but I have seen cases where, people have just been frustrated because they did an industrial training, got very less leaves, and then had to like move their attempt by another 6 months just for getting it done.
Okay. Yeah. That, I think I can like put a mark on these factors and then can decide whether I want to go for it or not. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So, but I think it properly worked for you. So I'm very happy for that, that you had a great experience.
Honestly, trust me, like the entire time I was doing it, I was second guessing myself. That is it the right thing? Do I want to take up like a 6-month leave because of this thing? Is it that important to me? I think it all makes sense looking back. At that point, I was as confused as you guys are. I just took a leap of faith, just thinking, okay, what's the worst can happen? Then, it was for me that, okay, I'll get delayed by 6 months. And then I was like, I'm not okay with it, but probably I might be. So.
Yeah, that's really nice. So, going back to BCG, so one thing that I have heard from a lot of people is that the big five consulting companies do not hire a lot of CAs. So, what are your views about that? And since you got in, what are the skill sets that these companies look for and which lack mostly in CAs?
Yeah, I think it's a very interesting question. So, first on my thoughts about hiring CAs, I think since the time I have seen every attempt, there has been, good hiring. At least 6 or 7 people get hired into these consulting firms. And honestly, that's the ratio with MBAs as well. So it's not like, somebody is more placed than the others. So you do have a good chance. Obviously, the thing is tough because the industry itself is tough. It's nothing to do with CAs versus MBAs or versus engineers. I think coming to the second part of the question on what are the skill sets necessary for CAs to be successful in consulting or, get shortlisted and make it through there. So I think one thing I've learned is that academics has to just be a part of your entire personality. I think we as CAs tend to over optimize on it. And I'm not saying that's wrong, but that's a choice. So if I look at all the management consulting firms, they do look for people who have done something beyond, let's say, what was conventional. So there would be a CA rank holder, for example, who is like a great sports person or somebody who hosts a podcast or somebody, for me, actually, it was industrial training because, it was very rare at that point of time.
Okay.
Or, somebody who has done something little different is what they look at, because that shows that you have color beyond your academics and you want to be a multi-dimensional personality. So if for CAs who are aspiring to go in consulting, I would strongly encourage that do not stop investing in your hobbies or things which make you different, because trust me, they matter at some point. Especially when you are thinking of applying in consulting. I know for a fact my brother is in IIT Bombay and he wanted to get into consulting, but the kind of shortlisting they have, he's had friends who got like, they have been hosting so many events and this and that, and even he's not behind. but then he does it lesser than the other people. So, obviously he suffered because of it. But you should always focus on your hobbies if that's something on your mind, if you're very clear if that's what you want to do.
Mhm. Since we are talking about hobbies, so I want to know three things which describe you as a person besides academics.
Okay, I think I'm very empathetic. So much that I hate for it. So empathetic, emotional, sensitive. The second is that I'm a big learner, so
Okay.
I just try to take a lot of feedback and work on myself, whether it's
Mm.
personally or professionally.
Mm.
And third is that I think I'm a people first personality. That if given a problem, now that I have worked in all these organizations, I look for solving the larger problem,
Mm.
and not think about very numbers driven. So I mean, the things which would describe me beyond academics would be sensitive, very open to feedback,
Mm.
and third would be cares about people more than cares about the problems.
Yeah, yeah.
Is
So, because you have mentioned that you are not a numbers person, I'm sure that you have a really analytical mind. So you
hmm.
look at things from the larger, like the macro point of view, which is a great thing because we tend to focus so much on the details that we miss out the actual problem. So yeah, that's a really great
No, so I honestly don't mean that you miss out on the detail. What I'm
thing. Okay.
saying is you need to have a complementary set.
Yeah, yeah.
The things you will find are is going to be in details. There's no getting around with that.
Mm.
But if you're too much in details and you lose touch of what you're trying to solve,
Yeah.
I know people who are working in organizations and don't know the mission statement. Like they just don't know, like, what is this company trying to solve for in the world? And I think
Mm.
that to me is the call that, understand how much impact your work has on, let's say, the entire society or on the company at least, uh, for you to be able to feel fueled, right? I
Mm.
mean, otherwise you'll be in details and you find good insights, but does that insights drive impact is the point you should always ask yourself.
Mm. All right. Yeah. So, after BCG, you moved to TA Associates, which is a private equity firm. So, why did you move and how was your experience?
Yeah, so why did I move? So the answer was, firstly, as CAs, you end up doing a lot of modeling at some point, maybe not
Mm.
like professional Excel modeling, but
Mm.
you do understand valuations, you spend a lot of time thinking about it. So the
Mm.
challenge I was facing in consulting was we were solving a lot of deep problems. So you're going vertically down inside a problem, but
Okay.
at some point you're not able to think very horizontally. So what
Mm.
happens in consulting is that you have a problem which is divided into sub problems between the team
Mm.
members, and you solve the sub problem, and obviously because solving the sub problem you solve the final problem.
Mm.
But what you lack is that overall view of how this problem is going to help the company, and you keep on changing, let's say, industries and the types of problems you solve. So you
Mm.
understand a lot of details, but as you said, right, the macro perspective was missing.
Yeah.
So for that, I think I was on a case in BCG, which was a private due diligence, which is helping a private equity player evaluate an acquisition target.
Okay.
And it was in that case I just realized how much I enjoyed it,
Mm.
because you were actually trying to understand whether whether it's a good market or not. Is this
Mm.
company placed to win in this market? And
Yeah.
if yes, what is the price I want to bet on this company?
Mm.
And I just thought that it was good to learn this. So
Mm.
I went to TA, and TA is actually an $8 billion global PE firm, quite well known actually in
Yeah.
the US.
Yeah.
And I was looking at financial services and tech investments in the Southeast Asia at that point of time. And it was a very good experience.
Okay.
Like, talk about making an impact. Like, the firm is just 8 people big. And then the amount of work you churn out is so, so high.
Mm.
And, in that, let's say, in that small period of time I spent there, I
Mm.
just knew how to understand and analyze the market. Like, it's brilliant that how, working so hard in some of these things can teach you so quickly.
Yeah. That sounds like a really interesting experience. And because you mentioned 8 people, so you must be working really hard.
That is very true. Working really hard and working with really senior people, like,
Mm.
at least in PE firms, even in consulting, you actually don't have too many layers like you have in big fours, for
Yeah,
example. It will be
yeah,
like some new CA, and then there's deputy manager, then there's all
yeah,
sorts of layers in between.
yeah.
In consulting and in PE firms, you would have people with 25 years of experience talking directly to you. And
Mm.
at least at TA, I got a opportunity to actually talk to more than 400 type founders just
Okay.
by understanding what they are doing, what they thought about while building the company. And that was such an opening and uplifting experience for me. I think it still
Mm.
motivates me to just chat with new people and know about, well, what fuels their day, and why do they want to solve this problem in the world.
Okay. So since you have mentioned it, what fuels you? And since you have been through a lot of experience in terms of companies and firms, so what is that one thing that drives you?
I think overall, I would summarize saying autonomy and impact. So
Okay.
I think the most important way to analyze your profession or the role you do is to understand what impact you're having. And in any way,
Mm.
what impact you're having on the small set of members, or what impact you're having on the world. And fortunately, I have been part of organizations where I could deliver these impacts at scale. So at LinkedIn, for example, if I think about a new feature, there's a 600 million member base which can be influenced by it, and that's a big impact in my view, even if my idea is small. And
Mm.
maybe some startup founders have a really great idea but affects, let's say, 20 people in the population. But I think what matters is that your work should have an impact. I
Mm.
think that's what has driven me to do whatever in life. At some point, my view of the impact I was making changed, and hence I switched roles. But
Mm.
I think I still get driven by how much impact I'm having
Yeah.
on this world and on the people whom I'm serving through my company.
Mm-hmm. And definitely you are helping a lot of people. I've seen your work on LinkedIn, and the kind of interactions you have is just amazing. So, uh, so you moved out of TA and then you joined LinkedIn, right?
Yes.
So, and you work in product strategy. So tell us something about the role.
Oh yeah. So talking about product strategy. So talking a bit about LinkedIn,
Hmm.
you see a website or an app, honestly,
Yeah.
but those apps are made of like hundreds of small features,
Mm.
which honestly are designed for various types of members, and they all unite holistically to make, let's say, a one platform, honestly.
Yeah.
So what I do in product strategy, I work very closely with product managers who are responsible. They are like CEOs of a products. For example, if we take LinkedIn groups, for example, there's a
Mm.
product manager who's leading the group, which is
Okay.
like, what should LinkedIn group do?
Mm.
What are the features we should have in a LinkedIn group?
Yeah.
How do we serve more members with this? How do I expand this? And as a product strategy partner, my work is to help them answer some of these questions
Mm.
and recommend them, what they could do next.
Okay.
So it's a very, very similar to product manager side of a role,
Mm.
except, thinking about engineering design, for example, because
Mm.
those are things a product manager is very nicely placed to do.
Mm.
But let's say my work involves very strongly understanding what would members want, and should we build it or not.
Yeah.
Is it going to be helpful to both members and both for LinkedIn? Or
Mm.
let's say, how's the competition doing it? How are they solving this problem? Or what's not working? We launched something and it's just not having the impact we assumed.
Mm.
So I think I answer some of those questions for different LinkedIn products. So I currently look at LinkedIn groups, LinkedIn Lite, LinkedIn events, and entire new members charter,
Okay.
which are like some of the few work we have been doing from the India office.
Okay. Okay. So, what I see here is that you seem like a very creative person. So, are you a creative person in terms of the roles that you had?
I have seen more creative people, honestly, in life. Like,
Yeah.
I work with a set of designers, and trust me, they can just they can solve a problem by just placing a button at a different place.
Yeah.
Um, and and that's like a big thing. I think I
Hmm.
have become more creative over time, and I would not say creative. I have just started accepting that there are other facets of problem solving than
Yeah.
just, let's say, one direct way of just thinking about numbers. I feel that data driven is like the major component of solving a problem, but there
Hmm.
are other aspects too. And once you realize how beautifully they all can tie together, you
Yeah.
actually have such a nice story, and you know what you're working towards.
Yeah. 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 That's really nice. So, you founded Consultapreneur also. What is that about, and how did you manage to do it?
Yeah, so in my work as TA, I honestly found that there were multiple forums that I would meet some angel investors to know about, let's say, about their startups and where they're investing. And the question they would ask me was, "Hey, I have a corpus, but I don't know which startups are good because I'm a fairly busy person. I have a lot of responsibilities, but I
Hmm.
can't do the research as a private equity firm does to
Hmm.
understand the smaller aspects about startup founders and what they are up to. I also can't keep track of, if they have invested money somewhere, how is it performing, what the owner is doing. So
Hmm.
it sort of becomes, let's say, a one time game where they invest money and then they forget about it, and after a year they would ask back saying, "Hey, what's happening with the startup?"
Yeah.
And I think it was a big problem because we have lots of platforms for discoverability. I mean, you unite, let's say, founders and angels through AngelList and multiple other platforms,
Yeah.
but there was this thing about how do I get the research done,
Hmm.
if I'm thinking about a new area. And I loved, understanding the next areas of growth generally in the world, like
Hmm.
what is going to drive the next set of problems. So I just thought it was a good fit for me to like just start um, freelance consulting
Yeah.
on this thing. So that's why I started Consultapreneur, and over the time I've got, let's say, few angels who sort of come back and uh, ask me to, let's say, deep dive into a particular area, think about, let's say, which other get good startups. I also work with founders to match
Hmm.
them with the angels,
Yeah.
which would probably be better fit in terms of their risk appetite.
Hmm. That's a really noble cause, one, and then you are like, you kind of know how to build on something that you are good at. So, not a lot of people do that. People are not aware of that. So, uh, that's really nice.
I mean, at some point you'll realize what you like doing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I'm still not been able to make it, let's say, 100% of my time. So I just work on my free days because
Hmm.
essentially it is not something which requires a lot of effort. Like, an angel investor does not have a deadline that, within Wednesday, tell me what's going to happen.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
generally looks at things from a longer term duration. So I can be
Hmm.
very flexible and I can devote my time to LinkedIn and also pursue something I really like. But
Hmm.
I mean, yeah, at some point, my long term ambition is to become an angel myself. So I think
Ooh,
this is
all right.
all a step going there.
Yeah, that's really nice. I hope you do. I hope you do it soon.
Well, when I have enough money.
Yeah.
An angel
So
without money is not an angel.
that's true. So, because you mentioned about looking at markets and stuff, are you like, do you like reading?
Oh, yeah, I do like reading. I used to be a voracious reader at some point that, I would have a book a week sort of a thing.
Okay.
I mean, I grew up very introvert. So
Hmm.
reading books came so naturally to me for to escape any sort of loneliness or boredom.
Yeah.
But I think over, over a period of time I've become so busy that it's been very hard for me to, let's say, complete a book. But
Hmm.
recently, since past 2 months at least, I've been standing up to that. But I do read a lot of other stuff, so I just
Hmm.
expanded what I read from just books to
Hmm.
blogs to Twitter threads to
Hmm.
listening to podcasts. I
Yeah.
think ultimately the aim of any of these things is to like give you more perspective about the world.
Hmm.
And I mean, I would definitely encourage read more books, whether ICI or otherwise, because I have
Yeah.
felt that at some point, it never goes waste. It's an
Yeah.
activity which definitely has a return.
Yeah.
You can just be sure of it. You don't know where exactly, but it does change your perspective in a very small way, which in compounded over lifetime is like a lot of return.
So tell me one of your favorite podcasts and one book recommendation that you would want to give.
Well, there are two favorite podcasts I have right now. So
Hmm.
one is this Freakonomics by
Yeah, yeah,
Steve Buckner.
yeah.
I think the problems they talk about are so unique and interesting. And the
Hmm.
other one is a recently launched one. I think it was launched last week, which is Bill Gates answering questions about what are the next set of big problems in the world.
Oh,
And
that's really interesting.
yeah, so I think you should definitely try out those two.
Yeah.
In terms of book, I actually have been spending a lot of time on economics
Hmm.
lately. I don't know why, just probably I think I understand very little about it, so I just thought I would read up more. So I am reading this book called Good Economics for the Bad Times,
Okay.
and it's a very interesting book. Talks about the top 20 economic problems the world are facing, and well,
Hmm.
how do the authors think that can be solved?
Hmm. Interesting. I will definitely add it to my book recommendation list. Nice.
Definitely do read book once in a while you study for
Yeah,
some.
yeah, yeah. I am. I have
Seems
completed.
like a challenge,
Yeah, I
at least
did. I did
you are.
actually. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I'm on 41. I'm on my 42nd book for the year now.
That is so cool. I mean, I wish I could have been like as reader, but I think I was so scared of failing that I kept on studying this ICA book.
Yeah. All right. So, because you have been through a lot of roles and a lot of companies and firms, so what is that one skill or that one learning that you would place at every stage? So, for Deloitte, for TA, for
So I think there are different things which make you successful in different places.
yeah.
But if I had to go and look back at the common thing,
Hmm.
is which is very counterintuitive to when we are studying, is
Hmm.
that you need to learn to be a part of the team.
Okay.
And that to me is like the biggest learning, that you have a problem to solve, but
Hmm.
sometimes you need somebody's help to solve the problem, and sometimes you are not the best person to solve the problem. So
Hmm.
in learning the art of delegating, asking for help, collaborating in a manner that is helpful and beneficial to both the parties is, I think, a skill which only work and exposure can teach you. And that is, at everywhere. In Deloitte you work as a team, so obviously, you would have contrary accounts. Somebody's doing capital, somebody's doing cash, and they're very highly related. You have to collaborate and make things happen.
Yeah.
The in TA you work as a team to quickly evaluate within a week or so,
Hmm.
what is the market, does this company is right or not. Again, it's part of the team. And you
Yeah.
also work with external teams like legal teams and
Hmm.
diligence teams and even consulting firms to get the answer you need.
Hmm.
And then, let's say, for example, at LinkedIn, I mean, I can't launch a feature unless, let's say, you have to think of so many things. Is this feature
Yeah.
going to harm any other product,
Hmm.
or can it also help any other product?
Hmm.
So you have to work in teams. And that to me is the biggest learning, is that while we are studying, we don't place so much emphasis on study groups and group assignments, and we
Yeah.
tend to do our individual work. I have seen, at least when I was studying, I would be like, I don't want to do group projects because generally I'm a part of the team where two people don't want to work at all and I have to take a lot of load. And
Yeah.
I would be like, no, please give us individual assignments. If you want to coordinate with,
Yeah, 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 that happens.
but over time you just realize it's the single most important skill, which is
Hmm.
how good are you with the people.
Hmm. Because you mentioned it, it reminds me of one quote that I read very, very like quite a time ago. So it says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that I can relate. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think it's so true. I'm not sure if it resonates right now. And I don't
Hmm.
think so it will, because at least it didn't resonate to me while I was studying. And
Yeah.
I would look down upon any study group formation. I'm like, what a waste of time. Having to
Hmm.
coordinate and get things done, I can do it myself in 1 hour.
Hmm.
And then I realized that, what I missed out in life was the that people do add value. Everybody has a different perspective. And
Yeah.
that perspective actually makes the answer better and not bad. Um,
Hmm.
and honestly, that's the only key learning. It's like, just learn to be a part of a team.
Yeah.
And obviously there are other nuances, like Deloitte would have other things which would make successful. LinkedIn has these different things.
Yeah.
But this is something which I'll tell you, as a working professional, you have to nail it.
Mm. That's some really intense and great advice. So, I want to ask this question. So, if you get a chance to put something on a billboard, what is that one cause that you would dedicate your life to?
I think it will be climate change.
Ooh.
um, I think there are multiple people solving the problem of education. I already see
Mm.
like progress. There are people also trying to solve other problems, like, well, how do we take better healthcare and things like that. I think
Mm.
one thing which I personally feel I haven't seen a lot of people doing is focus on the climate change, which is like, how does this world evolve in the next 100 years? And
Mm.
if I had an alternative profession right now, it would be working on that factor. Is like, how can I contribute my bit to ensure a better world for the next generation?
That's really nice and a very noble cause. So, last bit of advice for all the students out there.
Well, I would just say enjoy yourself. People ask me this question multiple times in the interview, which is like,
Yeah.
hey, what do you want to do next 5 years? And what do you want to do next 2 years?
Mm.
But looking back at it, no matter what answer I gave in that interview,
Mm.
um, all I was looking at that point was my definition of what will make me enjoy life more.
Yeah.
So whether it was solving on different problems, whether it was collaborating with different teams, or whether it was going into a very cool industry, I think all of the answers lead back to one takeaway, which is I just want to enjoy life. So
Yeah.
as you are doing the CA, are you doing this articleship? I'm telling you, hurdles are right now. Hurdles will be later as well.
Yeah.
It's not like after becoming a CA, you don't have any problems in life.
Mm.
You just have a different set of problems. Then you'll be like, well, professionally, I'm not growing enough as my people, and there's so
Yeah.
many things. But just enjoy what you're doing every day. If you're
Mm.
reading law, just enjoy it, because after 2 years you won't be reading it.
Yeah.
You would be researching on it. You'd have Google, you can refer back. There are multiple things. Just enjoy your time, whether in articleship. Enjoy making friends, enjoy meeting clients, try to learn their stories. And if you enjoy every single day of your articleship and etc., there's no way you're not going to enjoy being in this profession.
Yeah. That's really nice. And we are very grateful. That was such an insightful interview, and I'm sure a lot of students will find the same. So, thank you so much for joining us, Sakshi. And it was just wonderful.
Thanks, Bhumika. Actually, I'm grateful for you to give me the chance to, let's say, make an impact on students' lives. I'm hoping it's helpful, and
Yeah, it
you
is.
can obviously ask people to reach back to me, and I'll try to help the best I can for anything.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Bhumika.